mock draft on the channel. The main site I use is fantasypros.com. Just type that in. On the front page, you go to just the Go Now button in the center. Has news down here on the right, specifically for football, injuries, typical hype stuff. Or sometimes it's actually worthwhile stuff, but it's good to keep an eye out on it. And then going back to the homepage here, you just gotta go now. You start up your draft, start a mock draft, and here you get to kind of pick and choose. Make sure you put your settings to whatever your specific league is. The one that I consistently play has two wide receivers, has a flex spot with a tight end, and I usually play in 12 man PPR settings. And this defaults to Fantasy Pros. Should probably explain that a little more. So Fantasy Pros is when you go to their rankings, they have let's see. So this says 44 experts all throughout, all the big websites out there, um, NFL.com, Yahoo, all of them, and they just right here is the average draft position. You want to make sure when you do your rankings, you're hitting, whatever your league is. So I'm doing a PPR. I'm mostly playing those. And so this one, you saw that shifted a little bit. It used to be AP on top because that was a standard. Now it's Le'Veon Bell's top on the first. So this is kind of the rankings that you use when you're doing the mock draft because it only takes a few minutes, and it is going to rank it based off of this here. They actually had a cool new setting to where you could load your team in, and I had one draft at my workplace, and we already are set to go. So you can see my guys that are highlighted here. I picked 12th, so I had kind of the end of the snake. So I decided to go two wide receiver heavy, and then ended up with C.J. Spiller, which is kind of a question mark. Jordan Matthews. I probably have the best receivers in the league. Ended up with Kelsey, Gio. Cam Newton took a hit after I drafted him, of course, with the Benjamin injury. And then you go down, and I just went for basically running back depth, as we went further down towards the 7 to 10 range, somewhere in there. And then I got Eddie Royal real late, which I think he'll do really well. Same with Antonio Gates. Everyone is afraid of his suspension this year. And then I picked up just, Panthers are playing the Jaguars first week, so that's why I picked them. Kevin White, my league has a IR slot, so I picked him up real late just for the chance of him coming back. And then my kicker's not even on here. Okay, I got Crosby as a kicker. So that kind of shows my draft, but it's a pretty cool little setup. This is like the main site I go to. I usually don't go to too much more than this. So back to the draft here. Back to the homepage. Go now. I already got it up top here. So these are the settings of my league that we already went through. Usually I just let if you keep refreshing and keep doing the drafts, it's going to give you random draft orders. So I just usually just let them do that unless you know your position, which some leagues do, but for the most part they don't. So if you go in here, there's a little button here that you can actually get rid of them because it shows on the left side here that Le'Veon, Forte, and Anderson went first, which kind of surprising to have AP there at the fourth. But you can actually, click this off and it'll just show the top here. This is the overall down here on the left of where all the experts think, the position that they should be going. So if I have this spot here, it's pretty easy for me. Go AP. I'd probably get him second overall after Le'Veon Bell. Had a year off. He's gonna, be in a better offense that he's been since Brett Favre has been there, and he probably has quite a bit to prove after being suspended. And so here comes the second round. So 10 running backs are taken, 8 wide receivers. Gronk's gone. So Andrew Luck's still there. I'm not real big on getting quarterbacks early in a PPR setting, or in any setting for that matter, unless they fall to, fifth round, sixth round, something like that. So if I was right here, it does kind of suck to deal with have your first wide receiver be a wide receiver two essentially. But I think that offense is so efficient that you're okay taking that. Alshon Jeffrey is dealing with some injuries, or I might jump up and snag him. Um, the Bears' offense is kind of, I know they have a better, or I don't know, better, but different type of offensive coordinator this year. So this one, I'd be okay with either one of those. If you wanted to do, McCoy's dealing with the injury too, so he's kind of shaky. He could potentially be like a top five guy just from workload, but I would probably stay away from him. I don't think I'd pick any of these running backs after that. I like Lamar Miller, but you need to get. I personally you go wide receiver heavy in the first like five picks or so. So I'm gonna end up going with Cobb there. Experts agree. So then we come around. Jeffrey's left. McCoy, Ty. I think he's attached to Andrew Luck. Is really good. Hopkins, I'm kind of so on this year. So what comes back is Brandon Cooks as far as wide receivers, Jordan Matthews, and pretty much have the same running backs that were there last time that I passed over. So here's kind of the question: is Brandon Cooks will probably be the number one target um, for the Saints, and so will Jordan Matthews will probably be for the Eagles. The Eagles do tend to run more plays. They got Ingram. The Saints got Ingram, or did well with Ingram last year, and they traded for the center for the Seahawks, Unger. So they'll probably run a little bit more, but I still believe more in like the QB situation's a little bit so on that one on the Eagles, so I'd probably go with Cooks. And then so after Cooks, looks like so we're down to Alfred Morris, Amir Abdullah. He's got a lot of hype after that first game, especially. He's going very early in the fourth round. I think that's a little bit much for unproven. So here we got Brandon Marshall, Alfred Morris. So Alfred Morris is a real safe running back. I don't think Matt Jones is gonna dig into him. I think that Redskins offense are going to be pretty shaky, especially after that RG3 injury, and I'm not real big on the Redskins this year. Brandon Marshall, I think Fitzpatrick actually makes Brandon Marshall a lot better there. And then, so usually here, like around the fourth, fifth round, I look for Kelsey and Olsen. Olsen probably got an uptick there with Benjamin out. So I'd probably for me it really is between Kelsey and Marshall. And I'd probably go Kelsey just because I'm real high on him. Last year he was really efficient. Alex Smith doesn't like to throw deep balls, which is good for tight ends. So I'd probably end up there. I had him last year. He did great. All right, so then now we're coming down. Lost a few running backs. Jarvis Landry's really solid. I like him this year. Marshall left. So Allen Robinson, he had a stretch of where he was a very productive target monster for like 7 games or so last year. I think it was like week 2 to 8, and he's probably the one that I would take here for upside. I do like Geo still, especially at round 5, but I do like to go more wide receiver heavies because running backs get hurt a lot. Wide receivers tend not to get hurt as much. So I'd probably go there with Allen Robinson in the 5th. I mean, Russell Wilson's there. He would be pretty solid, but like I said, I usually don't take him till like the 6th, and by then, the option's pretty much decided for you. So here, Gio's still there. I like Gio, like we talked about. Um, I think a lot of these quarterbacks are kind of in the same pocket here. So Matt Ryan down to arguably all the way down to like Bradford. Brady is going to be more efficient, but he's got that 4-game suspension, so you kind of I pause a little bit on that one. I think Matt Ryan will be good. Um, Newton took a little bit of a hit there. So yeah, basically any of those guys, which means that there's seven or so. So I'll wait. I'll let somebody else decide it for me because I think those guys are all in the same tier. And then you go for me. This is Geo, just because the wide receivers you're kind of getting into the older, more veteran style. The ones that are going to be consistent, but you're not getting a huge upside, with the exception of maybe like John Brown, maybe Eddie Royal, potentially like for late round picks. So I go Geo there. And then when you come back, so a few QBs left, a lot of tight ends left. We already got that covered. So here, if you're in a league where you're in a keeper league, Gurley, this is a really good spot for Gurley. Anywhere from 6, 7. So most of my lineup here is pretty set, just with the exception of a quarterback, and there's still 4 or 5 for me to pick out of. So I'm not hell bent on getting a quarterback here. So Gurley's solid if it's a keeper, or if you think that you have enough depth to last, because he could be out for half the season, and then who knows what he's gonna bring when it comes around. So that one's kind of a gamble for me. I do really like Shane Vereen. Rashad Jennings always gets hurt. Andre Williams is just first and second down back. Shane Vereen is really explosive. I usually go for more of those type of guys as my RB2. So I'm good with taking Vereen there against the consensus. And then so Tannehill fell. So I feel like if I could still skip one, but I think Tannehill has more upside here out of these handful. Bradford, I think he could be really solid, but he does get hurt. So, and Tannehill does have a little bit of running, good with his legs. So I'd probably go there. Or potentially my other pick would be Foster, because I don't think he's going to be out for as long as people think they are, or that he is. And then Ryan Matthews is one that I look at. Trey Mason, that's a starting running back there for potentially half the year. Uh, Chris Ivory's already gone. So yeah, I'd probably just go with Tannehill here just to shore up my lineup. And then Foster came back, so I'm perfectly fine with Foster, having Adrian Peterson, Foster as a 1-2 potentially at the end of the year. Very solid. I'll gamble on that in the ninth. And then when it comes down here, now you're talking pretty much upside, backup quarterbacks potentially. I think Tannehill will be pretty solid. He's been throughout the year, so if I need to do a flyer halfway through the year, I'll drop somebody else. So I don't think I'm going to go with 2 quarterbacks. So David Johnson's a pretty good pick, just for the potential to take over on that. I know that the Cardinals are, Palmer had an injury last year. Iopata just went out, and he's out for I think like 6 games. So this one is kind of a question mark, but he's a freak, and he's also a rookie, so you don't really know what he has to offer. So that's a good upside one for me there. The other one is John Brown. I'm big on. Same with Eric Decker. I think Eric Decker is more of that stable. But I feel like I have 3 really solid wide receivers, and like I said, they tend to stay healthier than running backs. So I usually load up running backs from like the mid rounds or so. So I would probably go David Johnson here, just for the potential starter. Actually, this one's really a toss-up. I really wouldn't, between the 3 there, if you were to go with one of those guys, I wouldn't fault you at all. I'm still going to go with David, though, just for the potential 3 down back, because Ellington got hurt last year. He wasn't very effective as well. And so Decker came back. I think Decker would be much better with Fitzpatrick this year. And then I have 3 running backs, or no, was that 5 running backs to 3 wide receivers. So I'm happy with Decker as my buy replacement in, or however you say that. Okay, so Matt Jones is here. I'm not very confident that he's going to take that over. So Steve Smith is still there, which is really solid. Here you can take some gambles here on like Ladarius Green, because Gates is coming back. He has a 4-game suspension. Ebron as well, even though I think he will be like the number 4 option in that offense, so I don't really like him. all that much. And then, so yeah, for me, it's just Steve Smith here. I always wait on kicker and defenses too, so I'll get those as my last two. And then here, Eddie Royal is still there, and I think that he's going to be, you know, like a complete steal. My other draft, I have him too. I got him in like the 10th round or something like that. This is the 13th, so I think that's pretty solid in PPR formats. Him and Cutler had have a good connection from when they played on the Broncos together. That was Eddie Royal's best year, so it's good. And for this one, I really just look at, first week, and I know if I can't get one of the top ones, I think Panthers are arguably one of the better ones, and then they also play the Jaguars in the first week, so that's a easy pick for me. And I've actually seen some people go kicker first, which is also a good option. What was it? Parkey and Gostkat, however you say that name, Gostkowski. They both had very good points and out. I think they were outside of the top 25 in like flex spots for the league that I played in. So they're both really solid. So Parkey's here again. They have more plays. So either of those I would pick. It goes 1, 2. Crosby's up there. Um, I've had good luck with Parkey, and it's a kicker. So if I don't like him, I'll just drop him later. So I'll end up with that. And then so at the end of this, they give you a ranking essentially. So here's your complete, and I always do the rate my team and rate my team. So it ended up saying that I was second on that. Some of these are a little bit. Uh, they give you more points for like if you draft two quarterbacks and two tight ends and things. So that's probably where I lost some points there, which I'm not real big on who was available at the time. And I'd rather stack up wide receivers and running backs. And then it was all pretty solid from starters to back. Looks like this one they Slumdog Martinaire. So you can actually go back on team rosters and check them out. And yeah, they're a pretty solid team. Um, yeah, they have a lot of running backs. I usually like to go more wide receiver heavy in PPR, but it's just kind of it's a great tool to just practice it out, see what you end up with. If you want to go with a quarterback early or Gronk early, like late in the round. So when you come back up here after you're done with that one, like I said before, you change your scoring system, and now it tells me that I want to draft at position 1. You can go through it again, and this very helpful tool. Do 4 or 5 a day to kind of keep you up on injuries and things like that. And yeah, I've seen my success has gone up from making the playoffs most years. I think I missed it like once or twice in my league, to consistently getting in the semifinals. Because you're you have a good draft, and then you're just consistent on the waiver wire. So yeah, I'll make some more videos.